A young woman awakens in an unfamiliar room, finding a stranger asleep in the adjacent bed. As she carefully examines her surroundings, she slowly approaches the door and opens it, discovering herself in the hallway of a grand yet unsettling house. "Hello?" she calls out, attempting to determine if anyone else is present. She begins to explore, discovering two unconscious men in a nearby room. Confused and alarmed by the bizarre situation, she rushes to the main door and attempts to open it. Finding the main door locked, she checks the windows, only to discover they have been sealed with brick walls. She even searches the basement for an exit, but every potential escape route is blocked, trapping her within the house. Overwhelmed by panic, she collapses in the hallway. Sometime later, she regains consciousness, awakened by a man's voice. As she gathers her senses, she observes that there are now more people present. In total, 9 individuals including herself are within the house. The woman's name is Leah and she is a dancer. The man who roused her is Father Duffy, a priest. Among the others are Jay, a police officer, Max, a clothing designer, Albie, an aspiring black rap artist who is sensitive to perceived racial slights, Claire, a tennis star, Francis, a music composer, and Cynthia, his wife. Shona, a drug addict, also joins the group wearing an ankle monitor. Suddenly, a mysterious voice emanates from the speakers within the house. The voice informs them that they were selected not for who they are as individuals, but for what they represent. They are told they have been brought together to participate in a game that will test their fundamental human character. This game is being conducted for the entertainment of a watcher, who is observing and listening to them through 75 cameras and numerous microphones installed throughout the house. The voice reveals that the winner of this game will be the last one alive. The survivor will not only be granted freedom but will also receive $5 million for their contribution to the game. Upon the voice's disappearance, the 9 players are left in a state of confusion. Some believe the game is real, while others remain skeptical. However, the ominous statement that only one will survive creates palpable tension. During a heated debate, Jay pulls a gun from his pocket, emphasizing the seriousness of their predicament and revealing that their captors provided him with the weapon. The others are immediately frightened by the sight of the gun. Jay attempts to calm them, disclosing that he is a police officer. The others, however, feel that Jay's possession of a gun is unfair, given their vulnerable situation. Albie, harboring resentment towards white police officers due to his brother's past experiences, directs his anger toward Jay. Francis then deduces that the Watcher intends for them to kill each other. This revelation causes widespread panic. Jay agrees with Francis's assessment, adding that the survivor will likely be eliminated after the game concludes. He suggests they collaborate to find a way out, proposing they use a heavy dining table to ram the doors. Everyone except Claire, who observes them with detached interest while smoking, participates in the attempt to break down the doors. Despite their combined effort, the doors remain impenetrable. Jay then attempts to shoot at the walls, but his bullets have no effect. They then decide to thoroughly search the house for hidden exits or weaknesses. However, their efforts prove fruitless. Meanwhile, Claire finds the liquor cabinet and begins drinking heavily. Next, they gather to discuss their situation, debating the influence of money in desperate circumstances. They are interrupted by a sound emanating from the kitchen. They investigate and discover a dumbwaiter containing their dinner, a single piece of chicken and a potato for each person. While eating, they introduce themselves to one another. After dinner, they decide to share the 5 bedrooms, each containing 2 single beds. Father Duffy and the married couple take individual rooms, and the remaining 6 people choose their roommates by drawing names. Jay and Leah, Claire and Shona, and Max and Albie are paired. They retire to their respective rooms for the night. Later, in one of the rooms, Claire becomes enraged with Shona for rummaging through her belongings. In another room, Leah and Jay discuss their lives. The night, however, is not peaceful. In the darkness, someone attacks Jay and steals his gun. Due to the darkness, Leah and Jay are unable to identify the intruder. The commotion draws the others from their rooms, and they begin to argue, casting suspicion on one another. The following morning, they were startled by noises emanating from outside the house. When Jay announced that the police had arrived, having tracked Shona's ankle monitor, they rushed to the front door, shouting and banging frantically. Jay even fired the gun in an attempt to attract attention, but their efforts were futile. While everyone else was consumed by desperation and frantic attempts to escape, Francis remained composed, observing the chaos with a detached air. This failure to reach the police extinguished their last hope of rescue. Jay then provided them with the key to the liquor cabinet. With the exception of Jay and the priest, the others turned to alcohol to numb their despair. As they drank, they played soft music, attempting to alleviate the overwhelming stress of their situation. Finding the music too somber, Albie changed it to an upbeat track, trying to create a more cheerful atmosphere. They began to dance, seeking a moment of respite. Meanwhile, Francis quietly slipped into his room carrying a bottle of liquor. Inside, using a blanket to muffle the sound, he broke the bottle and fashioned a sharp weapon from the broken glass. He then secretly concealed the weapon above the bathroom doorframe. While the others became increasingly intoxicated, Cynthia and Albie remained in the living room, dancing to the music. Suddenly, Francis emerged and attacked Albie, accusing him of flirting with his wife, sparking a violent confrontation. As Cynthia attempted to intervene, Albie pushed her away, causing her to strike her head against the railing. She immediately began to bleed profusely and died instantly. Following this tragic event, Jay locked Albie in his room, and they disposed of Cynthia's body in the basement. That evening they received a reduced portion of rations, consisting only of potatoes. Jay gave Albie a potato and his own share of dinner. However, the priest decided to bring more food to Albie. As he opened the door, Albie rushed out, seized a metal rod and brutally attacked Jay, completely disfiguring his face. As Jay took his final breaths, he handed his gun to the priest. They then placed his body in the basement alongside Cynthia's. During the next dinner, they were rewarded with extra food and wine, accompanied by a note of appreciation for their performance. They divided the food and wine among themselves. Francis, however, took Albie's portion of food, stating that he would deliver it to him. From that point on, only the priest and Leah continued to share dinner in the dining room. They each ate their meals alone. After dinner, Leah and the priest went to check on Albie, only to find him hanging dead in his room. Suspicion immediately fell on Francis, as he was the last person to see Albie, claiming to deliver his food. Later that day, the priest approached Max. He confided that he trusted only Leah and sought to form an alliance for survival. Max, driven by greed, immediately demanded a larger share of the food. The priest refused, arguing it would be unfair to the others. Max attempted to seize a larger portion, prompting the priest to draw his gun and warn him against it. Meanwhile, in another room, Claire became enraged when Shona once again went through her belongings. Their argument escalated into physical violence, culminating in Claire stabbing Shona in the neck, killing her. Claire, shocked by her own actions, struggled to process what she had done. As Leah washed her face in the bathroom, Francis entered. Without warning, he ripped the light fixture from the wall and plunged it into the sink, electrocuting her. She collapsed to the floor. While the priest escorted Claire to lock her up, they discovered Leah's unconscious body in the bathroom. Claire seized the opportunity to deceive the priest and escape. The priest remained by Leah's side, believing she was dead. Shortly after, Francis arrived, feigning shock at Leah's condition. However, the priest saw through his act and aimed the gun at him, but hesitated to shoot. Francis taunted him, knowing he was reluctant to kill, and demanded the gun. Left with no choice, the priest fired at Francis, but the wound was not fatal. Leah, having survived the electrocution, heard the gunshot and rushed to the bathroom. There, she slipped and knocked over the toilet lid, revealing the shards of glass Francis had hidden earlier. Escaping the priest, Claire entered the kitchen and found food left out. She began to eat but was startled by Max, who was hiding behind the counter. Thinking only of survival, she proposed an alliance. Max, however, had other intentions. He used his belt to strangle Claire. The priest arrived just as Max was attacking Claire. Max lied, claiming she was stealing food. The priest ordered Max to release her and aimed the gun at him. Seeing the priest's resolve, Max reluctantly shot her. Francis then appeared and stabbed the priest from behind. He seized the gun and shot Claire again, then turned his attention to the injured priest. Despite the priest's pleas for mercy, Francis killed him. Overjoyed, Francis believed he was the sole survivor and the winner of the game. He shouted at the watcher, demanding his reward. Suddenly, he heard a noise from upstairs. Clutching his wound, he went upstairs and found Leah. Upon seeing Francis, she fled and hid beneath the bed, but he found her. As he pulled her out, she stabbed his leg with a shard of glass and ran. Determined to catch her, Francis pursued her relentlessly. Leah was cornered on the balcony. Francis lunged at her and they both fell over the railing. Upon landing, Leah found herself on top of Francis, realizing the glass shard was lodged in his chest. Francis died. The front door opened, revealing a blinding light. Leah rose and walked towards the open door, leading to a large bag. Once inside the room, the door closed behind her. She took the bag and exited through the front door. She was met with the sight of 4 shivering people, each holding a bag of money. She was then led to another identical house, realizing the game was far from over. The end.